Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Canadian Tire Center in Kanata, Ontario, in Canada. And Monday Night Raw tonight, I thought it was a okay show in my opinion. Of course, this is the fallout show from Money in the Bank. And tonight on Monday Night Raw, we had Jey Uso. He had taken on Chad Gable. Bronson Reed was in action, and he had taken on Pete Dunne. We had the Judgment Day. We had Carlito, Balor, and Jaden McDonough versus AwesomeTruth, the Miz and R-Truth, and Braun Strowman. We had Ilja Dragunov. He had taken on Bron Breakker. We had Damage Control, Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane, and also Io Sky. They have taken on Lyra Valkyria, Kayden Carter, and Katana Chance. And the main event, we had a mixed tag team match. Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan versus Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega. Once again, Dominic and Rey going at it again. Can we move on? How many times are we going to get Dominic and Rey going at it? I said last week, I am so over of seeing Dominic and Rey. Please. No more. I don't want to see any more matches with Dominic and Rey. Please. No more. Move on. But overall, Monday Night Raw, okay show tonight. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, I did a movie review of Bulletproof Monk. So if you haven't checked out that review, definitely go watch it. I thought it was a fun film, not great or perfect by any means, though. But it's an enjoyable popcorn flick that doesn't take itself seriously. So check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with the best in the world, CM Punk. Punk made his way to the ring. He got a good ovation there in Ontario. So Punk ended up crouching in the ring. He ended up saying that it's been so long since he's been here. Punk then asked the crowd if it's great to be alive on a Monday night in Ottawa, Ontario. So the crowd end up popping for Punk. Punk ended up saying that he has a lot to get off his chest, which shouldn't be a surprise. Punk ended up saying that he wants to recognize someone he has shared many hours in the ring with. Punk then insulted this person by comparing them to the New York Yankees. He then congratulated John Cena on his retirement. So then the crowd started chanting for Cena. Punk ended up saying that he doesn't know what the future holds, but he hopes to lace up his boots against John Cena one more time before he goes. That might be another suggestion of, John Cena's final opponent. I said, it would be, good if we had, John Cena versus The Rock 3 happen next year at WrestleMania, or John Cena's final opponent could be CM Punk. So, but I have to say, I'd rather see John Cena versus CM Punk than get a third match with him and The Rock. So it's one of those two suggestions that I think WWE is going to possibly go with. I hope I lean more towards John Cena versus CM Punk. So Punk ended up thanking Cena for all he has done. Punk ended up saying that John Cena is not here, but he is. He wanted to say that there's another guy that isn't here, and that guy is Drew McIntyre. To which when Punk ended up mentioning McIntyre's name, the crowd booed, McIntyre's name. And of course, McIntyre was fined at what went down at the post show for Money in the Bank, where he was pissed. He went to the table and he ended up pushing a ref, and Adam Pearce was out there. McIntyre elbowed Adam Pearce, so Wade Barrett had to separate McIntyre and Adam Pearce, and that led to Adam Pearce fining Drew McIntyre. And then Adam Pearce ended up fining Drew McIntyre again. So Drew McIntyre had a double fine because of what he tweeted on, X. So that all went down. So Punk ended up saying that he was tempted to lift the ring skirts to see if he was lurking under there. But the $1 million body, 10-cent brain Drew McIntyre got himself suspended. So Punk had the footage, ready and queued up to show everyone, and it showed, what I just, said about McIntyre interrupting the panel on the Money in the Bank post show, and he went on a tirade. So, everything with the refs and Adam Pearce. So Punk sarcastically ended up saying that the ratings have dipped because McIntyre was on TV. He then ended up saying that he came back to get his hands on McIntyre. And for months, he's been trying to teach a lesson to McIntyre. Punk ended up saying that lesson is there are consequences to your actions, and that you should not be shocked that when you pick a fight with him, he brings the fight back to you. Punk ended up saying that you should not be surprised that you were World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania for 5 minutes and 46 seconds, because there are consequences to your actions. So Punk ended up saying that the following night in Philadelphia, McIntyre blew it again by missing out on a number one contenders match, because there are consequences to your actions. So Punk then looked into the camera. He ended up saying, he is the consequences to all of your stupid actions. Punk ended up saying that if he has to fly to Glasgow, Scotland, and pop out a bowl of haggis, he will. Punk ended up saying that he did it, and made McIntyre blow his title opportunity in his hometown of Glasgow at Clash at the Castle. He ended up saying that McIntyre promised to win Money in the Bank and cash it in on the same night. Punk ended up saying that he promised that McIntyre would not be a champion as long as the air was in his lungs, and that his promise was fulfilled. So Punk ended up saying that if they thought what he did to McIntyre at Money in the Bank was bad, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Punk ended up saying that he wants to get his hands on McIntyre, but can't do that if McIntyre is suspended. Punk ended up saying that he had consequences for his actions and was fined $25,000, but it was money well spent. He ended up saying that McIntyre got fined double because he's the Scottish keyboard warrior and that he can't stop tweeting. So Punk ended up saying that he wants to ask either Jack Tunney or Adam Pearce to lift McIntyre's suspension. And I like that, Punk ended up, mentioning, Jack Tunney. So Punk ended up saying that he doesn't care if it's a match in the ring, or in the parking lot, or in the aisle, or the people on the camera side. He ended up saying that he wants McIntyre, and he wants Adam Pearce to lift McIntyre's suspension. So out came Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins made his way to the ring. Everybody was singing his theme song. Rollins was wearing heels tonight, so he got that out of Becky's closet. So Punk went to sit at the commentary table as Rollins made his way down to the ring. Punk ended up asking Michael Cole why he used his government name at Money in the Bank. So Punk ended up talking about how long Rollins' entrance lasts. So Punk sat on the commentary table, with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, who ended up returning tonight. So Rollins ended up staring at Punk from the ring. Rollins got on the mic and he sarcastically says, that Punk wants to sit on the sidelines now. He kept saying that he knows Punk loves the spotlight. And Rollins ended up inviting Punk into the ring. So Punk got off the table. He grabbed the mic from the apron. Punk ended up saying that he's not sure everyone in attendance remembers when they were last in the ring. Punk ended up telling Rollins that was the last time he would speak disrespectfully to him. And Punk ended up saying that he warned Rollins to watch what he says. So Rollins then sarcastically ended up saying to Punk that he wouldn't disrespect the best in the world. So Rollins was like, oh, since you are talking about how actions have consequences and why that applies to everyone in his life but him. He kept saying officials make mistakes, which happened at Money in the Bank. He kept saying Drew McIntyre cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, which he has every right to do. And Rollins ended up saying that he cannot understand why Punk decided to do the one thing he told him not to do. And why did Punk stick his nose in his business? So Punk was like to Rollins, your business? Punk ended up saying that he didn't stick his nose in Rollins' business and that he was handling his business. Punk ended up saying that he figured Rollins would understand as a husband and a daddy. He kept saying that a man is running around with his wife's and dog's name on his wrists. And Punk ended up saying that he will get his pound of flesh. He kept saying that he has no quarrel with Rollins. He kept saying coming out was personal and handled his business. He kept saying that if he somehow screwed up things for Rollins and now he can't realize his pipe dream, he legitimately. So Rollins ended up telling Punk to spit it out and realize apologizing isn't Punk's forte. So Punk then looked Rollins in the eyes and he kept saying to Rollins, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to screw anything up for you. I'm a little snowblind with rage right now. I have a singular focus, and I understand you do too. I screwed that up, and I'm sorry. But because it's you, I can't really be that sorry. Can I? And so with Punk ended up saying that to Rollins, Rollins was disappointed. He then shook his head. Rollins ended up saying that Punk always has an excuse, and that this is gaslighting. He kept saying Punk has probably never apologized for anything in life, because nothing is ever his fault. Rollins ended up saying that Punk is sly and crafty, and he's the king of propaganda. He kept saying that Punk is the dumbest smart dude he's ever met. So Rollins ended up saying Punk has everything figured out, except for the one thing that would actually make Punk the hero he thinks he is. He kept saying that Punk hasn't figured out that the world does not revolve around him. He kept saying that Punk can be a selfish bastard anywhere else, and that he can burn bridges anywhere else. So Rollins ended up saying that he will let it slide because he's above Punk. And Rollins ended up saying that he isn't just talking about his heels. Of course, like I said, he was wearing heels tonight, Rollins. So Rollins ended up saying that he was willing to let the selfishness slide until Money in the Bank. He ended up saying that if it weren't for Punk, he would be World Heavyweight Champion. So Rollins ended up saying for the time being, he's not able to go for the World Heavyweight Championship. He's not able to get another shot as long as Damian Priest is the World Heavyweight Champion. He ended up saying that it's not just a pipe dream. Maybe it is for Punk, but not for him. Rollins ended up saying that being the World Heavyweight Champion is the most important thing in the business, and that Punk took that all away from him. So he'll take from him. So he ended up saying that Punk wants his pound of flesh from McIntyre so badly that he doesn't worry about collateral damage. Rollins ended up saying that won't happen on his watch, and that he could take a cheap shot at Punk. But he knows his fragile body isn't 100%. So Rollins ended up saying that when Punk is cleared, he won't be able to say the name Drew McIntyre before he snaps his arm and puts him back on the shelf. So Rollins then ended up saying to Punk, actions have consequences. So then Rollins ended up walking off, and that was pretty much how the segment ended. But overall, I really enjoyed this segment with Punk and Rollins. Obviously, they're going to, go at it, Punk and Rollins, after Punk end up costing Rollins the World Heavyweight Championship and, costing, Drew McIntyre, his, Money in the Bank briefcase. But, will we get a one-on-one match between Rollins and Punk when Punk is medically cleared? Or do we get a triple threat match with Punk, Rollins, and McIntyre? I'm leaning more towards, the triple threat match. I'd like to see, Rollins, Punk, and McIntyre go at it in a triple threat, and then we get the one-on-one match between Punk and McIntyre. But very good opening to Monday Night Raw this was. And then we saw Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was talking to someone, apologizing for not returning the messages because he was busy with Drew McIntyre. So that person that Adam Pearce was talking to was Dominic Mysterio. So Dominic ended up saying to Adam Pearce that he doesn't want to team up with Liv Morgan later on in the night against Zelina Vega and his father, Rey Mysterio. Adam Pearce ended up saying to Dominic that Liv Morgan requested the match and that he would be happy, that Dominic would be happy. Pearce ended up saying that Dominic got involved in the last 3 Women's World Championship matches and that he doesn't give a damn about what Dominic wants. So Pearce ended up wishing Dominic a happy Monday, and he walked off. So then the Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan, walked up to Dominic. Dominic ended up asking Liv why she is doing this to him. So Liv ended up saying to Dominic that she's doing this for him, and that she felt bad about last week, and wanted to let him be Daddy Dom tonight. Dominic ended up telling Liv that they better win. And so Liv ended up telling Dominic that it's time to talk strategy. So Dominic then ended up telling Liv that she better have food. And pretty much that was basically that. And of course, that was the main event of the show later on in the night, that mixed tag match, Dominic and Liv versus Zelina Vega and Rey Mysterio. And then we had Chad Gable versus Jey Uso. And this was a decent match here. Of course, we had Jey Uso end up coming out first. The crowd was hyped up. Everybody was doing the Jey Uso. And then Chad Gable made his way out. Chad Gable's ribs were taped because of what he went through in Money in the Bank. So the match ended up getting underway. Both Gable and Jey locked up. Jey ended up wrenching Gable's arm. Gable ended up flipping through, and he ended up taking Jey down with a drop toe hold. Gable ended up slapping Jey in the back of the head a few times. Jey then got to his feet. He ended up blocking a kick from Gable. Jey then laid in some right hands on Gable, but Gable ended up coming right back with a waistlock takeover. Gable then forearmed Jey in the face and sent him into the ropes. Jey then blocked a hip toss, and he attempted to hit a hip toss, but Chad Gable ended up blocking it. And both guys ended up trying to do hip tosses, but both Jey and Chad Gable ended up each blocking it. Jey was finally able to hit a hip toss on Chad Gable, and he ended up putting Chad Gable over the top rope with the hip toss. Jey Uso ended up going for a suicide dive, but he got caught by Gable. Gable ended up hitting an overhead belly-to-belly suplex to Jey Uso on the floor, and it looked like Jey ended up landing bad on the floor after that belly-to-belly. And then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Jey Uso ended up punching Chad Gable against the ropes. Jey ended up whipping Gable, but we had Jey end up blowing his head. Gable ended up putting Jey Uso over his shoulder and slammed him down. Gable headed to the top rope and hit a diving headbutt to Jey Uso's shoulder. He ended up going for the cover, to which Jey kicked out. Gable ended up going for the Chaos Theory, but Jey ended up holding the ropes. Gable then ended up charging at Jey, but Jey sent Gable over the top rope, and then he ended up connecting with a suicide dive to Gable. Jey then ended up getting Gable in the ring. He headed to the top rope to deliver a flying crossbody block. Jey ended up going for the cover, and Gable kicked out. So we had later on, Jey ended up connecting with a running hip attack in the corner to Gable. He ended up going to the top rope. Gable then crotched Jey up on the top rope. Jey then ended up falling down to the canvas, and Gable applied the ankle lock on Jey. So the lights started to go off in the arena, signaling for the Wyatt 6. So Gable ended up letting go of the ankle lock on Jey, and he started nervously pacing around the ring. Jey then used that distraction, and he speared Gable. Jey ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Jey Uso ended up winning the match. So post-match, the lights continued to go out in the arena. Jey ended up saying yeet, and then he ended up running to the back. So the lights ended up going out completely in the arena. We had the piano key end up playing. The ring ended up filling with smoke. And Nikki Cross ended up standing up at ringside. Gable escaped the ring, and he ended up tripping as he ended up running up the ramp. Nikki Cross turned around, and she was holding another package. Of course, another VHS in that package. So, for the third time in 3 weeks, she put the package down on the commentary table. But this time, not in front of Michael Cole. She put the package down in front of Pat McAfee. And pretty much that was basically that. So I guess every week, we're going to have Nikki Cross coming out there and just delivering a package to the commentary table. But at least this week, we did not see the security guards on the table just randomly passed out. And then, after that, we saw Jackie Redmond. Jackie Redmond was backstage with Sheamus. And Jackie Redmond ended up congratulating Sheamus on him being 15 years in the company. So Sheamus ended up telling Jackie Redmond that it takes 15 years to understand this business. He ended up saying all the young cats think you can take shortcuts. So Bronson Reed ended up cutting Sheamus off. He ended up saying that Sheamus spent his 15th anniversary losing, and that they should be talking about him because he is the future, while Sheamus is stuck in the past. And that led to Sheamus ended up calling Bronson Reed a crybaby. So Sheamus ended up saying that Bronson Reed should know what comes next when he interrupts him. So Sheamus then challenged Bronson Reed to a match so they can fight like proper fellas. Bronson Reed then accepted, but he didn't want to have the match tonight. So he ended up saying that Sheamus can watch what he does to his man, Pete Dunne. So Bronson Reed ended up walking off, and that was basically that. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we went to the commentary table with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee opened up the package from Nikki Cross. And of course, inside of it was another VHS tape. And the VHS tape said, "Play me" on it. So Michael Cole ended up handing the tape to somebody from production, told him to get it to the truck, to get the tape to the truck. So that was that. So there you go, another VHS tape. Now we have Bronson Reed versus Pete Dunne. And this was a decent match here. Michael Cole on commentary ended up mentioning that Tyler Bate, of course, who was Pete Dunne's partner, was injured last week on NXT. So Tyler Bate will be out. And the match ended up getting underway. Both guys ended up blocking up. Bronson Reed applied a side headlock on Pete Dunne, but Pete Dunne ended up twisting out of the headlock. Reed ended up quickly turning Pete Dunne inside out with a club to the back of the neck. Reed ended up putting Pete Dunne on his shoulders, but Pete Dunne ended up countering out, and he applied an armbar on Bronson Reed. Reed then ended up grabbing the top rope to break up the armbar, and Pete Dunne then stunned Bronson Reed with enzuigiri, and he drop-kicked Reed out of the ring. And that led to Pete Dunne ended up hitting a plancha, but Bronson Reed didn't go down. That plancha did nothing to Bronson Reed. So Pete Dunne then connected with a moonsault block off the apron, and once again, that did nothing to Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed didn't even go down. So Pete Dunne then ended up wiping Bronson Reed out with a second rope moonsault block to the floor. So that pretty much took out Bronson Reed. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Pete Dunne was in control of the match. He ended up chopping Bronson Reed, but Bronson Reed ended up stunning Pete Dunne with a headbutt. Pete Dunne ended up kicking back at Bronson Reed, but Reed ended up delivering a clothesline, turning Pete Dunne inside out. Bronson Reed ended up going for a senton splash, but Pete Dunne ended up rolling out of the way. Pete Dunne ended up stomping on Bronson Reed's fingers, and he kicked Reed in the head. Pete Dunne then ended up kicking Reed in the head twice. He then came off the second rope with a double stomp to Bronson Reed's wrist. Pete Dunne then ended up hitting the Busaiku knee to Bronson Reed. He ended up going for the cover, to which Bronson Reed kicked out. So Bronson Reed ended up powerbombing Pete Dunne into the corner. He ended up hitting a sit-out powerbomb. He ended up going for the cover, to which Pete Dunne kicked out. Bronson Reed headed to the top rope, but Pete Dunne ended up cutting Bronson Reed off with a step-up enzuigiri. Pete Dunne climbed to the second rope, and he snapped Bronson Reed's fingers. Bronson Reed then ended up pushing Pete Dunne, and Pete Dunne ended up hitting the top rope midsection, and that was, trouble for Pete Dunne, because immediately after that happened, Bronson Reed followed up, and he ended up hitting the tsunami on Pete Dunne. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Bronson Reed ended up winning the match. Post-match, Bronson Reed was not satisfied about, beating Pete Dunne. So Bronson Reed ended up sending Pete Dunne up for another tsunami. And then Sheamus music ended up hitting. So Sheamus ended up charging to the ring. Bronson Reed ended up greeting Sheamus with some clubs to the back. But Sheamus responded with some right hands to Bronson Reed. Sheamus then connected with a knee to Bronson Reed's face. And Pete Dunne followed that up with a drop kick to Bronson Reed. Sheamus then ended up delivering the bro kick, which knocked Bronson Reed out of the ring. So Sheamus ended up celebrating, and he put his arm around Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne ended up shoving Sheamus off, and he walked off, to which Sheamus looked surprised at that. His former, tag team partner, with the Brawling Brutes. So Pete Dunne did not forget, when Sheamus walked out on the Brawling Brutes. But that was basically that. Overall, decent match between Bronson Reed and Pete Dunne. And then we saw Damian Priest. Damian Priest was talking with Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Carlito. Priest ended up telling them to handle their business tonight. Seth Rollins then came up, and he ended up asking Priest if he has a minute. Priest ended up telling Rollins that he does have a minute. So Priest ended up dismissing Balor, McDonough, and Carlito. So Rollins ended up saying that it's better to be lucky than good. He ended up saying on Saturday, Priest was very lucky, but he was also very good. Rollins ended up saying, most importantly, Priest kept his word, because the Judgment Day didn't get involved. So Rollins ended up saying that because Priest kept his word, he will keep his. So Rollins ended up saying that he will not come after the World Heavyweight Championship as long as Priest is the champion. He ended up saying that as good as Priest was on Saturday, if he wants to keep the World Heavyweight Championship, he has to be better at SummerSlam. So Priest then stopped Rollins from leaving. Priest ended up saying to Rollins that he kept his word, and he knows Rollins will keep his. But he still has a lot to prove. He ended up saying that gentleman's agreement is out the window. And when he's done with Gunther, he's going to give Rollins another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. So Priest ended up saying that Rollins can name the time and place. So both Rollins and Priest end up shaking hands. Rollins walked off. Priest then looked at his phone. He answered it and ended up asking where the mystery person is. So pretty much that was basically that. So Rollins will get another shot at Priest at some point for the World Heavyweight Championship. And then we got Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn ended up making his way out. Got a big reaction there. So Sami Zayn looked pleased with the reaction that the crowd was giving him. Sami Zayn got on the mic. He ended up saying that it's an honor to stand in this ring in the nation's capital, representing Canada as a champion. He ended up saying this past Saturday in Toronto, Bron Breakker walked into Money in the Bank and bought everything he thought he would. He ended up saying that Breakker bought his power, strength, and speed. Sami Zayn ended up saying that Bron Breakker made the mistake of walking in, thinking that he was the underdog, thinking Sami Zayn was the underdog. Sami Zayn ended up saying that he has said it before, but he needs to say it again. He ended up saying that he is not an underdog anymore. He is a champion. So Sami ended up saying that if he can take a second to be not so humble and un-Canadian, he has been putting in top-level performances in this ring year in and year out. And he's earned a certain amount of respect in this ring. So Sami ended up saying that Bron Breakker did not bring that respect to Toronto. He ended up saying that it's one thing to knock him down. It's another thing to try to keep him down. So Bron Breakker's music ended up hitting. Bron Breakker ended up heading to the ring. Bron Breakker got into the ring and he stared at Sami Zayn. And of course the crowd was barking at Bron Breakker. Sami Zayn ended up asking what Bron Breakker is here for. He ended up saying, is Breakker looking for a fight? Is he looking for a rematch? Did he come out here to say anything? Or is he going to stare at him all night? Sami Zayn then shoved the mic into Breakker's chest. Breakker ended up taking the mic. He ended up saying that he came out here to look the only man in the locker room in the eye who can say he beat him. Breakker ended up saying that he didn't think it would be Sami Zayn. Breakker ended up saying that he is a smart guy and knows how these things go, and that there's no reason for him to get a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. So Breakker ended up saying that he has been thinking. And then Breakker laid out Sami Zayn with a spear out of nowhere. So Bron Breakker ended up literally spearing Sami Zayn out of his shoe. So Breakker then started mounting Sami and started punching away at him. Officials and also Adam Pearce ended up running down to pull Breakker off. Breakker then sidestepped them and he started continuing to punch away at Sami. So the officials and Adam Pearce ended up finally pulling Breakker off of Sami. Breakker got out of the ring and he looked like he was heading to the back. So then Breakker ended up breaking away. He sped around ringside. You know, you had that awesome camera angle from the top, which I really love, you know, when they do that, when Breakker ends up running around the ring. And, you know, he ended up delivering another spear to Sami Zayn on the floor. And I say, that spear looked like Breakker botched it. So then Breakker ended up heading to the back. Ilja Dragunov ended up confronting Breakker. So Breakker sarcastically ended up saying that, oh, I'm so scared of you, because he said to Dragunov Dragunov ended up running to ringside to check on Sami, and then, Monday Night Raw went to commercial. I gotta say, after Sunday, Bron Breakker's momentum has, dwindled a little bit, in my opinion. But he's not at the bottom of the barrel, though. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had a trainer was tending to Sami Zayn. Ilja Dragunov ended up telling Adam Pearce that he wants Bron Breakker later on in the night. So Adam Pearce made the match official. So we had Ilja Dragunov versus Bron Breakker later on. And then we had a 6-man tag, the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Jada McDonough, and Carlito versus the AwesomeTruth, the Miz and R-Truth, and Braun Strowman. Of course, Braun Strowman is dealing with, the Judgment Day, for weeks. And this was an okay match here. So the Miz and R-Truth end up making their entrance, and as they were making their entrance, we had the Judgment Day. Balor and McDonough and Carlito end up attacking them from behind. Braun Strowman quickly made his way out, and he charged down to the ring. So Balor, McDonough, and Carlito end up running away from Strowman. Strowman was chasing them around the ring. Strowman then caught Carlito by his hair, and Strowman slammed Carlito into the barricade. Balor and McDonough then got into the ring, and Miz and R-Truth ended up hitting both of them with AAs, the Attitude Adjustments. So, of course, they paid homage to John Cena. Miz then ended up wiping out McDonough with a plancha, and Strowman ended up putting Carlito into the ring. The bell ended up ringing, so the match got underway. So Truth ended up hitting Carlito with a pair of shoulder tackles, and then he delivered a back suplex powerbomb, like John Cena, his childhood hero. So Truth then connected with the 5-knuckle shuffle on Carlito. Truth then ended up hitting Carlito with an AA. He ended up going for the cover, and Balor ended up coming in. Balor accidentally ended up dropping an elbow on Carlito, because mainly that was for Truth, because Truth ended up moving out of the way, and that's when Balor ended up hitting the elbow to Carlito. Truth ended up sending Balor out of the ring, and Truth then ended up sending McDonough over the top rope. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back in the commercial, Miz was in control of the match. So McDonough ended up quickly taking Miz down. He ended up putting Miz in his corner. Balor tagged in, started punching away at Miz. So we had Balor end up hitting a snapmare and a knee to Miz's back. Balor then applied a chinlock on Miz, but Miz ended up fighting up, and he elbowed out of the chinlock. Balor then ended up sending Miz into the ropes. He lowered his head, and he ended up eating the kick. So both Balor and Miz ended up taking out each other with a double clothesline. McDonough then tagged in. He stopped Miz from making a tag. McDonough then ducked an enziguri, and he knocked R-Truth off the apron. McDonough then ended up hitting Strowman, which that was, a wrong thing to do. That just angered Strowman there. So McDonough ended up quickly stopping Miz from making a tag. Miz ended up pounding away and tagged in Strowman. So Strowman got into the ring. McDonough looked all terrified because he made the mistake of hitting Strowman. So McDonough started begging Strowman off, but Strowman annihilated McDonough with a shoulder tackle. Strowman then threw McDonough twice, and he punched Carlito as he ran into the ring. McDonough then ended up avoiding an avalanche and tagged in Balor. Strowman caught Balor coming off the second rope with a clothesline, and Strowman ended up going for the cover, and we had McDonough and Carlito end up breaking up the pin. Carlito and McDonough took it to Strowman, and we had Strowman end up flooring both McDonough and Carlito with a double shoulder tackle. So we had, at the end of the match, Balor ended up connecting with a coup de grace on Truth. And so Balor ended up going for the cover, And they go, the Judgment Day ended up winning the match with Carlito. So, overall, it was a okay match. Post-match, Strowman ended up chasing Balor out of the ring. And that was that. And then we saw Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was in his office with CM Punk. Pearce ended up pointing out that Punk isn't medically cleared, and that he is the reason why Pearce ate an elbow. Pearce ended up saying that he will schedule a meeting with Drew McIntyre next week and hopes that he'll stay professional. So Pearce ended up telling Punk if that's going to happen, he wants him to stay home. So Pearce ended up saying that Punk likes to pick fights, and that if he does it again, a match with McIntyre and his title aspirations are done. So Pearce ended up telling Punk to let him deal with McIntyre. So Punk ended up agreeing with what Pearce was telling him, and he ended up walking off. So that was that. But next week, we're going to get Drew McIntyre returning because they advertised it. So we're going to be seeing McIntyre next week on Monday Night Raw in Dayton, Ohio. And then we saw Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. They were in the Judgment Day clubhouse. Liv Morgan wanted to work on double team moves, to which Dominic ended up saying that he doesn't want to tag with her. And all he wants to do is beat his deadbeat dad. How many times have we seen, Dom trying to beat up his deadbeat dad in Rey Mysterio? So Liv Morgan ended up saying that's what she wants. And she ended up telling Dominic to relax since he's so tense. So Liv then pushed Dominic onto the couch. And we had Liv started to stretch Dominic's leg seductively. And Dominic looked like, he was liking that. And then all of a sudden, Damian Priest walked in with Finn Balor, McDonough, and Carlito. Carlito was like, now that's cool. So Liv Morgan ended up telling Dominic to feel better, and she walked off. So Priest ended up saying to Dominic that he doesn't want to know what the hell that was. He ended up saying that Dominic should have been done with this, and that it's not that hard. Carlito was like, well, it looks hard. Priest ended up saying that he's starting to understand Dominic's father more. Uh-oh. So Dominic ended up promising to get this done, and he walked off. Priest ended up saying that Dominic will learn about the consequences. So Balor ended up mentioning that Priest has news, and that Priest says he'll let Dominic find out later. So that was basically that. And then we went to the VHS tape that was delivered by Nikki Cross, of the Wyatt Six, and it showed Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas was shown looking into the distance. Uncle Howdy ended up telling him to say more about his family. Bo Dallas then smiled. He ended up saying that he took those that no one wanted, and that they were discarded and forgotten. Bo Dallas ended up giving them a purpose. He ended up saying that he gave them. He ended up saying that they're so happy that he remembered them. He ended up saying being a glutton for punishment doesn't make abandonment any less painful. He ended up saying that there's been too much loss, but grief is the price you pay for love. Now they must set the captives free, and that they need no master. Bo Dallas ended up asking if they are sick. Uncle Howdy ended up saying, yes, I do. So Bo Dallas then looked into the camera, and we saw the members of the Wyatt Six end up appearing on the screen. Bo Dallas then ended up saying, then sick is what will be. And the video ended up cutting out, and that was basically that. But this was good. I really liked it. I like that. We got Bo Dallas there, and Uncle Howdy ended up telling, Bo Dallas more about his family. And then we got, all the members of the Wyatt Six appear on the screen. It was cool. Really like what they're doing here. And then we saw Chad Gable. Chad Gable caught up with Adam Pearce. Gable ended up saying to Adam Pearce that the Wyatt Six are talking about him. He ended up saying that Pearce and security aren't doing anything about it. Adam Pearce ended up saying to Chad Gable that he doubled security and started an investigation. He ended up saying since they're coming after Gable, has he wondered why? Chad Gable ended up saying that he'll handle it his way, but he'll expect a sincere apology from Adam Pearce and everyone in the locker room. And Gable ended up saying to Pearce that he also wants a vacation, and he ended up walking off. So Adam Pearce then ended up walking into his office, and when Adam Pearce opened up the door, Bo Dallas was sitting in Adam Pearce's office. Bo Dallas looked at Pearce, and the door ended up shutting, and pretty much that was basically that. It looks like we may get, Chad Gable going up against maybe Uncle Howdy. So that's going to come into play. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Io Sky was shown with Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane. Io Sky ended up saying that Damage Control has lost control, so they need to change. Dakota Kai ended up saying that they've been treated with nothing but disrespect, and that they're world-class talent and shouldn't be pushed aside by Kayden Carter, Katana Chance, and Lyra Valkyria. She ended up saying tonight they'll push back and show what Damage Control can do. Kairi Sane ended up saying that they'll clip Lyra's wings and dance over Katana and Kayden. Io then ended up saying that they'll take back control tonight. So that was what Damage Control had to say. And then we had Ilja Dragunov versus Bron Breakker. And this was a very good match here. Like I said, if the match has Dragunov, I said this before, if the match has Dragunov, it's going to be a very good match. Because Dragunov is absolutely talented. And I'm a fan of Dragunov. So the match got underway. Breakker ended up quickly taking Dragunov down with a really German suplex. Breakker then bounced Dragunov in the corner, and Breakker dug his knee into Dragunov's chest. Breakker then lifted Dragunov. Dragunov slid off and delivered a German suplex to Breakker. So Dragunov ended up going for the Constantine special. Breakker ended up avoiding that, and he delivered a clothesline to Dragunov, knocking Dragunov down. Dragunov then pulled himself up in the corner. Breakker then ended up striking Dragunov down. Dragunov ended up fighting back with some chops to Breakker. Breakker grabbed Dragunov by his throat, and Breakker ended up hitting a gorilla press power slam to Dragunov. He ended up going for the cover, but Dragunov ended up kicking out. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Dragunov was in control of the match. He ended up booting Bron Breakker away. Breakker quickly ended up hitting Dragunov with a spine buster. He ended up going for the cover, but Dragunov kicked out. Breakker then ended up punching Dragunov in his ribs a few times, and then Breakker ended up stretching Dragunov out. Dragunov ended up fighting out, and he headbutted Breakker back. Both guys were trading punches and chops. Dragunov then ducked the clothesline from Breakker, and he delivered an enziguri to the back of Breakker's head. Breakker then dropped to his knees. Dragunov then hit the ropes, and he had knee-in Breakker in the face. Dragunov got fired up as he headed to the top rope. Breakker cut Dragunov off, and he started delivering some punches to Dragunov. Breakker then ended up setting up for a superplex, but Dragunov ended up slipping out, and he powerbombed Breakker down. Dragunov ended up heading back to the top rope, and he delivered a flying senton splash onto Breakker. He ended up going for the cover, and Breakker ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, Dragunov ended up signaling for the end because Dragunov ended up booting Breakker in the face. So Dragunov signaled for the end of the match. He charged at Breakker, and Breakker threw a chair into Dragunov's face, and that led the match to end in a disqualification. So Dragunov won the match by disqualification. Post-match, Breakker ended up grabbing Dragunov. Dragunov was bleeding from his shin, and we had Breakker end up putting Dragunov in the ring. Breakker then ended up choking Dragunov with his boot in the corner. Sami Zayn ended up coming out. He ended up avoiding the grasp of the officials. Sami Zayn attacked Bron Breakker and clotheslined Breakker over the top rope. Sami Zayn then checked in on Dragunov, but Breakker ended up pulling Sami Zayn out of the ring and drove him into the ring post. Breakker then ended up sending Sami Zayn over the commentary table, and that led to Dragunov end up attacking Breakker. Breakker then ended up cutting Dragunov off, and Breakker sent Dragunov over the commentary table as well. Breakker then stood on the commentary table and he pulled his straps down. And that was basically that. Overall, I thought this was a very good match between Dragunov and Bron Breakker here. And then we had a promo from Damian Priest. Damian Priest ended up saying that his name is still on the World Heavyweight Championship. And I didn't ask Drew McIntyre to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase or for CM Punk to interfere. He ended up saying, what champion doesn't have some controversy? Priest ended up saying that he went to war with Seth Rollins and came out winning. So Priest ended up saying that he's looking forward to his next challenge. And the challenge isn't Gunther. It's to himself and his greatness. Priest ended up saying that he will walk into SummerSlam as the World Heavyweight Champion and leave SummerSlam the same way. So Priest ended up telling Gunther to come to Raw next week. Then he can join everyone in Rising for El Campeon. And so pretty much that was basically that from Damian Priest. And then we had Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross was with the Final Testament. Kross sarcastically ended up saying that Kofi will not be playing the accordion. He ended up saying Legends of the Old Guard will be the death of this business if left unchecked. He ended up saying that they hold the new blood back, and they are the true enemy of us all. He ended up saying one way or the other, the Old Guard will make way for the new. He ended up saying even John Cena realizes his time is almost up. Kross ended up saying that he knows Xavier Woods hears him. He ended up saying that Woods beat him where Kofi could not. He ended up saying that if Woods comes with him, he can create the ultimate legacy. And if he goes with Kofi, he will hospitalize him. He ended up saying that the New Day is dead, and that Xavier Woods is the last to realize. So Kross ended up saying, so saith the Final Testament. And pretty much that was basically that. So Kross still wants Xavier Woods to join the Final Testament. And then we had Damage Control. Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky versus Lyra, Valkyria, Kayden Carter, and Katana Chance. And this was a 6-woman tag team match. I did not care about this match. I really didn't. You know what I was doing on this match? Just surfing on, Google and on YouTube. That's how much I cared about this match. So Damage Control won the match. Dakota Kai stomped on Kayden Carter. Io tagged in, connected with an over-the-top moonsault on Carter. And there you go. Damage Control ended up winning the match. Post-match, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark end up running into the ring with Sonya Deville. So Baszler, Stark, and Deville end up attacking Damage Control. Stark ended up saying that Io cost her everything, and Stark ended up kicking Io in the head. Stark then ended up launching Io into Baszler's knee. Sonya Deville then ended up dropping Io Sky with the Advocate. And so Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Sonya Deville stood tall in the ring. So we have a new group here with Baszler, Stark, and Sonya Deville. Now I said this, and I said, months back when Sonya Deville came back and she was trying to talk with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, I said, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark are going to align with Sonya Deville. And I was right about that. I knew where it was going. So there's your new group with Baszler, Stark, and Sonya Deville. Now we had Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega, and Zelina Vega ended up saying to Kathy Kelly that if it weren't for Dominik, she would be the Women's World Champion. She ended up saying that Dominik and Liv Morgan are hot messes. So Rey ended up saying that it's a pleasure to team with Zelina Vega, and that they'll put an end to the story and shut both Dom and Liv up, and that they'll enjoy that tonight. And that was basically that. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Jackie Redmond was with Sonya Deville, Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler. And in the background, we saw Chad Gable. Chad Gable was talking with the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. Of course, this is setting up for that. With Chad Gable having the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, and the Creed brothers that's gonna be your new Alpha Academy there. So Jackie Redmond ended up asking Deville, Stark, and Baszler if they are working together. Baszler ended up saying that this should have happened a long time ago. She ended up saying they sent a message to the locker room about who runs this division. Zoe Stark ended up saying that they were screwed at Clash at the Castle and at Money in the Bank. So Sonya Deville ended up saying that she's been trying to help Baszler and Stark be the killers they are. And Sonya Deville looks so happy to be back. You saw it on her face. So Sonya ended up saying that Damage Control is the start. So Deville ended up saying that's what happens when you think you're in control and you aren't. They're here and there's nothing anyone can do. And so that led to the Women's Tag Team Champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, end up walking up. They end up saying that as long as they have the titles, it's their division. So Sonya Deville was like, oh, not for long, honey. And they end up walking off, and pretty much, that was basically that. But I saw an article that came out today, and I read it, and it has something to do with the women's division, and pretty much basically WWE wants to introduce a Women's United States Championship and a Intercontinental Championship for the women. And I'm like, no, we don't need a United States Championship and an Intercontinental Championship for the women. They have so many titles already. Hell, they can't even book the Women's Tag Team Championships, good. So what's the difference? What difference is going to make when they introduce a Women's United States Championship and a Women's Intercontinental Championship? I don't want to see it. Because like I said, look at what they're doing with the Women's Tag Team Championship. The Women's Tag Team Championships are irrelevant. They don't put much effort into booking around the titles. So no, I don't want to see a Women's United States Championship or a Intercontinental Women's Championship. And then we had Gunther. A promo from Gunther. He ended up saying that his name brings power, dominance, and prestige to the sport. He ended up saying, how did he become the man whose name strikes fear in every ring all around the world? He ended up saying that he is the greatest and longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And he's also the King of the Ring. He ended up saying soon he will be the World Heavyweight Champion. He wanted to say that he was not a child watching this for entertainment, and that he's not a fanboy living his dream. He kept saying all that matters is winning. He kept saying that he saw an opportunity in a sport that lacked a powerful figure, and that the company had no choice but to call his name, and they needed him. Gunther ended up saying that he did not need the company, and that he embraced NXT UK as his battleground. So Gunther ended up saying that all he saw was children chasing fantasies and desecrating the sport. He ended up saying that he realized he enjoyed making people miserable. He ended up saying that he restored honor and prestige to this sport. And that's what's on the line at SummerSlam. So Gunther ended up saying that he will challenge Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. So there you go. That's your SummerSlam matchup there. So we had Pat McAfee and Michael Cole end up going over what we're going to see next week on Raw from Dayton, Ohio. And Gunther and Damian Priest are going to go face-to-face next week. So that should be interesting. We're going to have Bronson Reed versus Sheamus. And, of course, Drew McIntyre returns. So that's all going down for Monday Night Raw next week. Main event. Mixed tag team match. Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega. And man, didn't I not care about this match. I did not care to see Dominic and Rey going at it again. I am so over it. I'm really over it. And the crowd did not even care for this match either. They were in a coma through this match. The only thing that mattered was what happened after the match. So, the match ended with Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio win the match. We had Rey end up putting Dominic on the top turnbuckle. Rey was setting up for a super poison Rana. Liv Morgan threw a chair into the ring. So, that distracted the ref. The ref was dealing with the chair. And Liv Morgan crushed Rey on the top rope. So Rey was down on his back on the canvas. Dominic then connected with a frog splash onto his father. So Dominic went for the cover, and Dominic finally got a win on his father. So post-match, Dominic was elated at defeating Rey, and he hugged Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan jumped into Dominic's arms, and she ended up pulling Dominic down on top of her. So Dominic looked like he was going to kiss Liv Morgan. And then all of a sudden, we heard, "This is my brutality." Yes, we saw Rhea Ripley end up returning. And she got a big pop from the crowd. Everybody was happy to see Rhea Ripley. I was happy to see Rhea Ripley. She walked out to the stage, and Liv Morgan looked really terrified. So Rhea Ripley angrily charged down to the ring. Liv Morgan ended up running away. She ran through the crowd. Rhea Ripley got into the ring, and she got in Dominic's face. And she was not happy with what's been going down while she was out. So Dominic ended up going for a hug to Mommy, to Rhea, but Rhea ended up shoving Dominic. And pretty much that was basically how Monday Night Raw went off the air. But overall, really happy that Rhea Ripley returned, and she is going to get her Women's World Championship back. Liv Morgan was just keeping the title warm for Rhea. And, at SummerSlam, we're going to get Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. And the title is going right back on Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan is just a transitional champion. But overall, Monday Night Raw was an okay show tonight. But anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys for Dynamite on Wednesday. So see you all then.